Welcome back to the Bruderhof YouTube channel. We are reading Following the Call, Living the Sermon on the Mount together. This week we are reading chapter 41, God or Mammon. Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. A well-known passage, but I think one that deserves thinking about more. And I think what's most remarkable to me, just reading this passage again and thinking about it, is that mammon or money or wealth, however you want to render that, is not a neutral force. It is a power. Mm-hmm. A power that has agency, as Jacques Ellul writes. He writes, Jesus personifies money and considers it a sort of God. And I think many of us, when we talk about wealth, many Christians tend to think of money as this sort of benign thing that can be used for evil, and that's what Jesus is warning against, but can also be used for good. And Jesus here is, I think, pretty unequivocal in saying, no, money is a power that is opposed to God. So,
yeah,
where does that leave us?
Well, I don't think it leaves us in a bind per se, but I think it's something that we have to take a hard look at every single day, because I mean, as David Bentley Hart points out, like, you would think maybe there'd be some balance to that text, and that, riches that are honestly and procured and well used, there might be some justification for that, but there really isn't. And it also goes, like, something that stood out to me about this chapter was when Eberhard said, money and love are mutually exclusive. And that is a strong statement, because I think often we just throw money at problems, like as a society, personally, to try to alleviate whatever the situation is or make people feel better. And that's actually not the solution. So I was extremely challenged again by reading this verse and seeing the juxtaposition of money and God and how they cannot come together in any form.
Yeah, so Eberhard Arnold, the founder of the Bruderhof, who really, together with his wife and his sister-in-law, founded the Bruderhof because they saw the radical nature of Jesus' words here, and realized they couldn't continue to live, a respectable middle class life or what have you, with wealth. They really had to take this seriously and decide to completely serve God only by renouncing wealth, renouncing their own property. And that's really why we live together as we do in church community, where each of us who has become a member of the Bruderhof has renounced, personal ownership. And even we've renounced corporate ownership of what we have. And I think while it is something that we have to, continue to, make sure that we're protected from serving the spirit of money, this type of decisive attitude is really necessary for every Christian to really say, my master is Jesus, and, I'm not going to try to make, a love of wealth and, material comfort the goal of my life. Yeah.
The two other thoughts I had is that if we're not thinking about how we can live a life of fellowship and renounce money and possessions, we are not happy. We are not creative and generous in our way of life. And I think that's what's so awesome about some of these passages here, because it points to the fact that relationships are really cheapened when they come down to materialism and the exchange of, like, what can I get from you and you get from me in exchange for material wealth or whatever that is. And it points to actually the spirit of weakness and death which I thought was a really interesting concept because I often think of money being synonymous with power. But actually, like, true power from God, what animates us to love and be loved has nothing to do with that. And so that's why I'm really grateful to be able to renounce that and live with my brothers and sisters, because it really does just attack care and fear and worry, and it just wages war against those negative things, I think, when we're able to, like, renounce that and lay it down.
Yeah, when you take money out of the equation, when you take property out of the equation, each is able to, serve in whatever capacity God has given them the ability to, and there's no sense of, someone being higher on the totem pole than another person. And this, you take that out to a broader scale, as Everhart points out here. This is what, when this is, not there, when money has control, this is what leads to war. This is what leads to, violence of all kinds. This leads to trafficking of people, people's bodies, all sorts of evil.
Terrorism in all its forms.
Right. And so this is not, again, just something that's neutral. Money is power over people, but it's the power that leads to death. So, I think possibly for us at this moment in the 21st century, where, once again, the disparity between rich and poor has just grown to this absurd proportion. I don't think anyone can really ignore the fact, that there are people who have way too much money. This should be a call to all of us Christians to show something else. Show who our allegiance is to, which master we want to serve, by taking, real steps to demonstrate our allegiance to God.
Amen to that.
So a challenging chapter, and hope you also got something out of reading it, and we'll see you next week.